This week, the Clarets face a crunch game in their bid for survival with an away leg at Brentford. This is the Nona Never podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the No Nay Never podcast. Listeners, we're going to do it. We've got to analyse that disappointing defeat away at Brentford. We went into that game feeling very, very confident, very happy, albeit rocked from a couple of defeats that we weren't necessarily expecting. But it did not go the way we wanted it to. So we are going to have a quick look at what happened on Saturday and essentially take stock of where the Clarets' future lies ahead of this unprecedented 3-week break. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and I am joined by 3 guests this evening, 2 of our regular panellists on the analysis show, Richard Steele and Adam Dennett. And we are delighted to be joined by a very special friend of the show, and I believe this may be his debut, actually, Andrew Blyth. Andrew, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Is Blyth correct? I don't want to offend you straight off the bat by calling you the wrong name.
No, Blyth is correct. Well done. Thank
Excellent.
you very much.
Well, we're going to come to you very shortly, Andrew, but it's very lovely to have you. We do like it when we get our regular listeners a slot on the show. It's very nice to have some company. So where are we, Clarets? It's not looking great. We are still in the relegation zone. We have lost. Every single time we have faced a fixture where we've said that this was a must-win game or definitely a must-not-lose game, and it was the key game to kickstart our survival hopes, we have fallen. We have had a very, very disappointing run of results against the teams around us at the bottom, which may very well seal our fate this season. Rich, I'm going to come to you first because you were at the game on Saturday. Out of the 4 of us, you were the one that did make the trip down. You're an absolute hero. And I guess I kind of, can you start our listeners off with kind of a summary of the air and the atmosphere, especially at completion? What was your experience of that game like?
Yeah, so me and my dad was in our car at 6:30 in the morning, travelling down from Wigan. Always enjoyed the London games because we get to stay with family and make a weekend of it. And, even though we have had a few bad results, there was an air of, anticipation, excitement, as there always is. We got to, we had a couple of pints in a lovely pub in Brentford. I met Tom on my travels too and the Whittaker family. So I
did he charge you for a selfie?
No, he didn't charge me for a selfie. I got his autograph though.
Love it.
And then, the atmosphere was brilliant before kick-off. The Brentford fans weren't great really all the way through. I was next to the away fans, so I had a little bit of banter. And, it was one of them. It was just the same old story of the Claret season, really. We had spells where we was under pressure. We had spells where we put them under pressure. There was a real spell in the second half where for a good 10 minutes or so, we was getting the ball out wide, getting into decent positions. And ultimately this season, what's cost us is that final third, whether it's the finish or the final ball. Our crossing again was absolutely diabolical, including set pieces, which I'm going to talk about later. I was watching the game though, and it actually never felt like we was going to score. And it's quite a harrowing feeling that where you want to get on the edge of your seat for that anticipation. And I never really felt I got that. Obviously, we had a chance in the first half where McNeil seemed to have a 50p head because the ball went at a right angle.
10 bob head, I think it's called in some of the local.
All he had to do was glance at him, but I think that sums up his season.
Yeah.
Corney had a 1-on-1, and you think before the African Cup of Nations, he probably smashes that one in. And obviously, Jay's hit the bar with an unbelievable effort, which, 2 inches lower, it's 1-0. But we didn't actually, other than that real McNeil chance, because the Corney 1-on-1 was, from their mistake, and Rodriguez's is just a pot shot, really. We didn't open them up with any creative football or with a good move. You think, we played a good bit of football there. And I think Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager, summed it up perfectly. He said it was a close game, but Burnley are just so predictable. And I know we'll analyse this more, we put Westwood back in the team, and it's just that channel ball again, them long balls, hitting it up in the air to Vegas, hitting it for Corney to chase after long balls. And when we played against Brighton and we had Cork in midfield, we was getting it into Vegas' feet, and laying it off. Brownell was playing a little bit further up the pitch and looking more effective. And like you said, after that Tottenham game, there was a real sense of belief come back into Turf Moor. The walk away was fantastic, and since then we've got 1 point from 4 games. And I know we want to try and have a balance of this podcast, and we have got some, got some massive games coming up, but it just really has the sense of inevitability that this is the end of the road for us. And I just, I know this is our job on the podcast to analyse it, and we will. To me, we're just not good enough.
Yeah.
And that sums it up for me.
It's kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? That's the conclusion.
It is, I was walking away from the ground, and I didn't really speak much. I was just kind of in that somber mood. I remember I was eating my fish and chips, just like so down and downward.
Oof, don't mess with the fish and chips.
It was good though. Fish chips and mushy peas, they were good for down south. I give them credit. The chippy and the chippy and Hatch near Watford. But yeah, it was just that sense of inevitability, and I turned to my dad and I just went, you know what, we're just not quite good enough. Yeah, unfortunately.
No, well, on that slightly disappointing note, Andrew, let's come to you and let's bring you into the podcast and let's get some thoughts from you. I guess, is there any glimmer of hope that you can salvage after Saturday? Do you think that result was the final nail in our coffin, or do you look at the league table? Do you look at the remaining games and think, I still think there's some hope here?
I definitely don't think it's done. I definitely think that with the games going that are coming up, that we've got chances, we've got games. The problem is we've come across games like this season already, and we haven't been able to get the wins and the points that have been required at that point. However, I just think at some point, I feel as if we're so close to getting that win that will kick us out and get us out of the relegation zone. If we'd got something against Leicester, obviously that would have done that. And again, that was the exact same against Brentford. The problem for me is up front. There's not enough. We're not good enough in the final third. We're not creating enough chances. And if we were creating the chances, then I'm sure the strikers would be putting the ball in the back of the net.
Do you, just picking up on what you said there, Andrew, I think this is something that's worried me for quite some time now. And I know this is a very polarising subject and draws some quite extreme of emotion. But to me, Dyche hasn't got our players up for the key games. Like you say, we've not done well in those must-win games. At home against Norwich, for goodness sake, we looked terrified. When we were playing against Watford, that key game at home in the revenge, we looked nervous. And I'm just a little bit concerned that either Dyche is making them nervous by stressing to them that this is a really important game and setting up the tactics to not lose, or whether it's just somehow not inspiring them. But you look at that game against Spurs, and to some respects, like the first half against Leicester as well, the side looks disciplined and it looks relaxed, but playing these must-win games, they look terrified.
Yeah, the players definitely do look scared. I fully agree with that. I get obviously what Rich has already said about Westwood in the middle. I don't think works. I know he'll probably analyse that more. I think Cork in there against Brighton, as he's right. The team's set up a lot better. The ball seemed to flow a lot better through midfield. Dwight McNeil's been the strange one all season. He's just not showing the player that he is. And I think Dwight, especially at home, I think Dwight looks scared in front of the fans. He's getting obviously quite a little bit of stick. I feel as if the only player the last few that has looked as if he's up for it has been Aaron Lennon. I think Lennon has been really good, as if he's up for these games, but you're right, no one else seems to be up for it.
Yeah, right. Well, that's one point that I'm going to pick up on. I was going to save it till a little bit later on, but I'm going to bring you in. Adam, I'm sorry, I do keep handing you these grenades and expecting you to run with them, and I'm going to do it again, I'm sorry. But Andrew mentioned there that we have got a problem with Dwight McNeil, and for the first time in his career, and for the first time in a long time from a Burnley player, some quite vocal disappointment and, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of an adequate word, but there's a lot of noise coming from the crowd. At home, the last game, was it the Leicester game or was it the Chelsea game? I think it was. There were audible boos from Turf Moor when Dyche didn't take McNeil off and chose to take another player off instead. this is a really tough decision. Now, I think Tom mentioned this in our group thread about self-policing fans, and fans are entitled to voice their opinion. But what on earth do you make of the McNeil situation, and how do we fix it?
It's really difficult just because of the lack of options that we seem to have. Obviously, Cornet is the obvious one to put on the left hand side, but he's still not seemed to be firing after AFCON, and whether Dyche trusts him, his discipline and his fitness to be able to cope with that left-sided role where McNeil is always disciplined at getting back. Obviously, Chelsea went on a merry dance for that first goal and didn't do very well when he was back, but he has got the engine to get up and down. There's no real other option on that side, so it's more in hope than expectation at the moment that you just want him to find that form. And I think the criticism from the fans is justified based on his performances, but I don't think it helps. Obviously, he's definitely a confidence player, and you can actually see his shoulders going down, his head going down, which he's a professional. He shouldn't do that, but he's a young lad. It's going to affect him. Obviously, it's been a long period now where he's not been getting goals and assists, where the first 2 or 3 seasons he has regularly been like contributing at the top end of the pitch. It's really difficult one for me. And another one which we're going to talk about again, I'm guessing, is we've not got that option after not adding that winger in January. I know we're really close to Orsic. Is that going to end up being the difference? I don't know.
Quite possibly, actually.
Just got a quick note to add on the Cork situation and Westwood. Obviously, he came in, didn't he, because Westwood were either banned or injured, I think, and obviously did really well in the Brighton and the Spurs games. But I think the signs were there in the Palace game. We were watching that we did get overrun again in midfield, and his legs didn't seem to be like, you could tell he'd played 3 games in a week after not playing for quite a long time, Cork. So I didn't disagree with Westwood coming back in at the time, but it has been, you can tell, he's really not on form. I think, like Richard said, that on Saturday we're set piece wise and final ball wise, we just seem to be panicking and not taking control of the situation and just playing the percentage balls that worked more for Wood than it did for Weghorst, than it ever will for Weghorst. Yeah. And I think it is vital to get Cork in there to play the way that we need to get results.
Just park the Cork situation. I'm going to come back to that actually, because I know there's a couple of points that Rich wanted to say. I want to talk about Westwood and Cork and Dyche's team selection specifically. So let's just park that. Remember that thought. I'm going to come to you, Rich, because Adam, like a politician, evaded the question. But nicely done, Adam. I like it. The McNeil situation, I want to stick with this for a little bit. And I think Adam makes a really good point about the youth of just the general age of our players. You forget so often that footballers are in their 20s. They're in their early 20s. And I think about me in my early 20s, and I was quite frankly just a first-class idiot. I was so immature. And I look back at my early 20s, me, and just think, ooh. And if I had to do my job in front of millions of people and with 24,000 line managers criticising your performance every week, it would get to me. So we do treat them like really mature men when they are in fact kids still. So bearing that in mind, specifically, how are you feeling about the specific abuse that's been sent his way by the fans? Can it ever be justified, and how do we rectify this?
Is that why you come to me? Because I'll just give a blunt and honest answer.
Pretty much, yeah. Adam's too nice. Was the wrong person to ask.
In my opinion, he's just not been good enough. It's just as simple as that. I'm not one to boo, but at the same time, if people are paying the money, they've got every right to do it. I think we've got this thing at Turf Moor now, where it's like, oh, people aren't singing enough. People are doing this. People are doing that. Like, do you know where I'm coming from? And I'm like,
yeah, just get on with it and do your own game.
I've seen loads of stuff on Twitter, like, oh, not enough people are singing. I'm nearly 30, me. I can't be arsed, like, standing up for 90 minutes singing crap songs about Weghorst and all that stuff. just want to watch the game and get into it. But like going back onto it, you do make a good point about about him being still a young lad. But the difference is you are training to be a lawyer. He's a professional footballer. If he can't handle that criticism, he'll not get to the top. It's as simple as that. What annoys me about McNeil is I can have players making mistakes, playing a bad pass. I get that. But his mentality, he shrugs his shoulders, he huffs. Like you're seeing against Chelsea, as soon as he missed that open goal, his head just went. And you've got, hopefully he will learn, but you've got to be, if he wants to make it to the top level, and I'm not meaning bottom half Premier League, to the top level, because I think he's got the talent and I think he's got the ability. He's got to be stronger mentally, and his mentality's got to be better. If anybody wants to watch a programme on mentality and about being at the top and staying at the top, go and watch The Last Dance on Netflix about Michael Jordan.
That's superb.
Because he pushed his teammates and it was sink or swim. And I think McNeil's coming to the first part of his career where he is getting criticised. And I think rightly so, because his performances aren't good enough. His mentality's not good enough. And it's a big test for him now, whether he's going to come out of it the other end. And listen, I hope he do it. And, I'm sure he's a lovely lad. I'm sure he's a lovely lad. He comes across as a really nice lad. But to be a top footballer, you've got to have that little bit of arrogance and that little bit of swagger about you. People dislike Jack Grealish a little bit. I personally love him because I think he's got that arrogance. I think he's got that swagger to his game. You've seen that incident with Grealish where that Birmingham fan come and punched him, and then he went to score the winning goal. I think if that was McNeil, would he have had that same mentality? So I'm concerned with him. It's not, for me, it's not that he's not playing well or he's giving the ball away or whatever. It's just his sulking and his shrugging, and you can just see him on the touchline. And it's a really, really difficult one because Adam made the point, we've got nobody else to come in, really. For me, we've got this conundrum with Corney at the moment. Where do we play him? Do we play him left wing? I've seen some people being like, Corney can't play up front. But you wasn't saying that when he was banging worldies in left, right and centre. I just think he's genuinely out of form. And because our midfield is our weak area, we rely on McNeil a lot to be fair to him. And it's because he's not been playing well. I think it's highlighted more problems. And I felt there was a spell where, he was getting back to it, putting them crosses in. And by the way, I thought he did okay, actually, at Brentford. He kept going and he kept running down the lines, kept running down the channels. But listen, if all will be forgotten if he has a brilliant end to the season and he shows a lot of guts and a lot of courage. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
No, I think they're really good points. I think bearing that in mind, Andrew, we're talking about him being too nice and his shoulders going down and things like that. And you talk about, interestingly, making that comparison with Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. One of the things that struck me about that particular series that I was watching was that he wasn't there to make friends with anybody. He didn't, in his leadership, in dragging that team, the Chicago Bulls team, he wasn't interested in making friends. He did what was necessary. He was a champion. And that just made me think, as soon as Rich said that if we've got McNeil, who is struggling with form, he's struggling with confidence, his shoulders are going down, actually, where is our Michael Jordan in that side? Ben Mee is a fantastic captain. He is a fantastic ambassador for the club. Is he the guy on the pitch that shouts and screams? Is he the Joey Barton? And I don't think we've had that player since Joey Barton left. So, who is our general in the side? Who is the one who's going to drag those players through? Is that what we're missing?
I think that's 100% what we're missing, because you're right. Ever since Joey's went, we've not had that. We used to always have, I know it's further back in the field, Tom Heaton was always very, very good from the back, shouting out instructions, getting people going. That's obviously moved. The captaincy's moved to Ben Mee, and that should be his job. But obviously, Mee wasn't the side at the weekend to help him out. McNeil's clearly struggling with confidence. As Rich said again, ever since that miss with Chelsea, because you had the whole thing a few weeks back when he got dropped versus Liverpool. He came back in. I thought he was fantastic against Tottenham. Really, really good. Because that game and then against Chelsea, he misses that chance. His shoulders slump, and that's it. His head's gone. He's just the rest of the game against Chelsea wasn't even, and he just wasn't at the races at all. I'd love to see him play I'd love to see him play an under-23 game against a young fullback who's got no confidence, to try and boost his confidence, get him used to beating players again and getting balls into the box. It just we need to somehow get his confidence up, and there isn't the leaders on the pitch to help him that at the moment.
What I would say to that is Ben Mee is our leader.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like, I don't think he's someone in the dressing room who'll like really shout at people. Since he went off against Leicester, where he was drawing 0-0, no goals scored, 8 conceded, no points made. You know, and when the going gets tough in games late on, we conceded 2 late on against Leicester, 2 late on against Brentford, capitulated against Chelsea. That doesn't happen with me on the pitch. I think in them Leicester games and Brentford especially, we at least come away with a draw. We just look far more open and the team looks a bit softer without him in it. And I think it's shown over the years, hasn't it, with Keane, you know, how he struggled at Everton. I don't think Taki looks the same player next to him. So I don't think he's very... I can't imagine him wanting to give people a rollicking, but just his presence and his calmness and just his general organisation on the pitch, we really, really miss it when he doesn't play. I just think we've got Kev Long playing against City.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Let's
you know what? That's one thing we are not talking about in this podcast. I cannot deal with that scenario. That's banned chat from this episode. Just saying that though, Rich, it's like, yeah, I get that and I do understand it. And Ben Mee brings so many qualities as a leader that we benefit from in the club. But if we're talking specifically about the McNeil problem and how we fix his lacking confidence, McNeil clearly isn't reacting to the kind of leader Ben Mee is. So do we...
Can I add something here?
You can.
I've been thinking about this and I wasn't sure I was going to bring it up. I listen to the Ben Foster podcast quite a lot. I don't know if any of you do. I do listen. Sorry for plugging another podcast on this show, Natalie. This is the best foot. So obviously Ben Foster, you know, been a great keeper for so many years. We were talking. His topic was Aubameyang and him going to Barcelona, joining him obviously scoring loads of goals since he's gone, and he was doing that with Arsenal, got this massive contract, and then kind of just down tools a little bit. And it's just interesting to get your thoughts on this. He said that in his experience, when a new manager, a new player has got a new contract, they just lose that 5-10% edge, which maybe gives them that. Do we think that's happened to Dyche a little bit? He signed this massive bumper contract for like 4 or 5 years, knowing that if he gets sacked, he's going to get a massive payout. Has Dyche just lost that little bit of intensity, that little bit of fire that he maybe once had to, you know, he's just coming out for me with the same monotone expression, you know, after games. And I'm like, I want him to show a little bit of passion, you know, after the game. I've been beating this drum for ages. Fine margins, or we're just the final third and all this. And I'm like, I know we can't criticise his players in public. I get that, but something twigged with me when I listened to that Ben Foster podcast. I'm like, bloody hell, has this actually happened with our manager? Has he sort of got that little bit, just lost that little bit of edge? You know yourselves. When you're in your job, if you feel, like Chris Wood even said, and we criticised him at the time, if you're getting that little bit of a comfort zone, you do lose that edge.
No, I completely agree. And I've been trying to say this to various degrees of success on our group chat for some time, because it's not something that I feel comfortable enough airing in public. Criticising Dyche on a public forum like Twitter to Burnley fans is just asking for trouble. And quite frankly, I get enough grief as it is from people on Twitter.
Well, that's not criticism, is it? That's just an observation.
It's seen that way, though, Rich. It's seen that way. And I agree. And I'm not an advocate for people staying in jobs in any profession for a long time. I think the generational days of being in your job for 40 years and staying at the same firm and making partner or whatever it is and retiring are long gone. I think I like when our graduates come to our firm and they're talking to us about 5-year plans. They're not talking to us about staying with the firm forever. And I don't want that. I want to know what they can do in 5 years, the spark they can bring to our firm and what ideas they can bring. Adam, do you think there's any justification in that maybe Dyche is in his comfort zone and he's lost a bit of that spark?
You hope not, because there's so many reasons that you could put down to this season turn out as it is. One is that we're Burnley. We're battling above our means for a long period of time. you're always a chance you're going to be in a relegation battle every season. Obviously, the long-term underinvestment that we've talked about under the previous ownership. I think he's never been one to come out and be that exuberant post-match press conference. For the last couple of years, all he did were take sly digs at Garlic whenever he had we had a poor run of form. So he's not got that reason to do that anymore. So yeah, it's just those boring one-liners. But it would be nice to see something else. But I don't think I'd ever expect it, no matter what his contract situation was. At the end of the day, we've not been good enough as a collective. And it's interesting though, the contract situation. I thought the same about Westwood. He were in the form of his Burnley career, and everyone were going like crazy, saying why don't we put pen to paper, get him signed up, sign him up, and he did, and there was a clear drop off afterwards, and it happens everywhere. The Aubameyang situation is a perfect example of that happening. So you hope not. It could be possibly, but I don't think it'll be the main contributor if this is the season that we do go back down.
I do want to add this up before you move on. I know I'm probably talking more than I normally do on a podcast, but I don't want Dyche to. No, I don't want Dyche to go. I want Dyche to stay, and I'd love nothing more for us to have another 5 years of Dyche, because what I love about Burnley is that I think with Dyche, we still have an identity and a bit of a pureness about it. With all the madness that does go around in the Premier League. But what I have seen on Twitter more and more is people who have good football brains, rational football people, not reactionary people who kind of just spout nonsense, saying that, we need something, we do need something different, whether that's a new coach to come into the building or something. I think, because and Adam is right, it does come down to a lot of players ultimately, but we've got a top player in Corney, and it's almost like we don't have he's been here nearly a year now, we don't have a clue what to do with him.
No.
Still. So, and I'm wondering, it's a real difficult one. And I think football has advanced so much in the last 2 or 3 years since we were really successful. And Dyche isn't up to times with it, unfortunately. The football is a bit archaic. But at the same time, what's always in the back of my head is that we still haven't properly been backed in the transfer window, despite making some good signings.
I think that's a really interesting point. We're going to come back to Rich in a minute. I'm just trying to add in some different layers, because I think what he's saying is really important, Andrew. And I think 2 things that I've just picked up from that last particular segment was this idea that I wonder whether Dyche has also become a little bit behind with his strategy and his tactics, and is somehow a little bit archaic in what he wants to do. I agree with Rich in that we all want Dyche to be the one that stays with us, but that has to be on the condition that he does find a freshness and a sharpness, and things like not knowing what to do with McNeil, with Cornet, and how, changing the team from his trusted 4-4-2, and just, and I get frustrated when I hear Dyche saying, when we're doing in bad times, where he's saying, we've got a system here and it's always worked and we've just got to do the things we believe in well. And I always question that and think, well, what if that's long gone now and it's never going to work again? What, we're just going to carry on doing that until we're out of the league? Do you see that in the game? Do you think there is any staleness from Dyche there, or do you think he has the ability to bring that spark back?
There definitely is a staleness from Dyche. He does not seem to want to try new formations, new systems, new things like that. And I do think that Rich has a point with the whole contract situation. If you look at ever since Alan Pace came in, Pace has nailed his colours to the mast and said he wants Dyche here for years. So Dyche is as comfortable as anyone at the moment. He's got his feet under the table. He knows that he's pretty safe with Pace there. I don't think he's got any fear of being sacked. And if he does, he's got a big payoff. So he is quite archaic. He's not willing to change much. I'd love to see a change of system, especially with Conley and things like that. But I don't hold out any hope of it happening anytime soon. And probably should be try something new this season, because nothing we've tried this season has really worked. I'd love to see Conley playing just off the front rather than right up top, just in behind, kind of White Horse kind of idea. If there could be something could be done with maybe if Fidra was to come back in, etc.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? We often talk about players having no competition for places and just being safe, so they know that they're going to get picked every week. So there's no need for them to try hard. And maybe, like you say, Pace coming in and saying how much he wants Dyche has given a little bit of complacency, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but yeah, you never really think about managers being safe on the job, do you? We talked about this, Andrew, ages ago now on the podcast. I don't know if this is an episode you listened to. And in fact, while I'm just talking you through this, I'm going to find the email that I was sent. We talked about the potential that there was a his coach, was it, who'd left, and a lot of people go on.
Tony Loughlin had left.
Yes, and we raised quite a few listeners had sent me some emails saying, "Will you explore this?" Because since he left as a coach, tactics seem to be all over the place. I want to revisit that, Andrew, and see how you feel about that, because I think somebody did send me something. Let me see if I can find it very, very quickly. Sorry, this is terrible, terrible radio that just listened to me scrolling down to find this email. Andrew, come to my rescue because I can't find it.
Well, I remember reading the news that Tony Loughlin had left, and any time there's a change to backroom staff, I always think, was that the crucial piece, etc. I remember it from other clubs when certain individuals left, assistant managers or what about coaches, and I did have that in my mind when he left. Could this be an issue? And obviously they brought Steve Stone in to replace him. Something's not right. Whether it is that or whether it's Dyche, I don't suppose we'll ever really know. But it is definitely a possibility that Tony Loughlin was a crucial cog in that's now it's now not working right. Maybe that has got merit.
So what do we think? How do we deal with that though? Is that a Dyche stubbornness? Why have we not replaced him? Do we know?
Well, it's got to fall to Dyche. He's the manager. He's the person who's in charge of this situation. If there's something wrong, it should be up to Dyche to find that out and find a solution. Now, whether that's bringing someone else in or maybe getting rid of someone, I don't know. But Dyche is the manager of the football club, and it's up to him to find that solution. Yeah. Us as fans, we don't see the behind the scenes goings on there.
Yeah, fine. I found the email that I was referring to. I'm not going to read out the individual's names just because he doesn't put in his email whether this is private to me, because he's emailed it to us by a private email. So I don't know whether it was for public consumption. So I'm going to keep him anonymous for now. But the gentleman, I'll say it's a gentleman who wrote this, will know that it's his email. And it says, "Dear Natalie, listen to your latest podcast tonight and the suggestion that Tony Loughlin leaving might have had an effect. Well, one other coincidence that occurred to me is Ashley Barnes. Remember that beautiful penalty he took away against Liverpool on the 21st of January last year? That time was the beginning of his injury problems. He only started another 3 games that season and scored the goal which gave us a draw against Fulham at home. And therein lies the problem, because after beating Villa 3-2 on the 26th of January, brackets admittedly without Barnes, we didn't win another single home game that season, and we've only won 1 this season. Makes you think that either he was even more influential than we'd realised, or that he was such as an influential ingredient of 4-4-2 that it simply doesn't work without him." That's actually ended up being a bit of an Ashley Barnes problem rather than a Loughlin one. I'd misread it. But it all links into this idea that we've got one manager, one coach, one system, one set of players that matches that season. And now little elements of that are missing. So Loughlin going, Ashley Barnes being injured. Nothing's working. And this is my frustration, Andrew, in that the things that we've always done well, when you get those variants of the jigsaw and the wheel, that miss it, we can't perform, but there's no plan B.
There is no plan B, and let's be honest, over the years that's often been Dyche's downfall. He's had issues where maybe he's not made substitutes and he's never had a plan B, but he's somehow got to address the situation. If he does need another coach, then he needs to look into that. But I said, I don't really know the ins and outs of how the backroom staff works, so I don't really feel qualified to answer that one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's quite all right. None of us are qualified. We are merely here to offer an opinion.
Yes.
Albeit some people genuinely do send us emails asking us like we have any influence whatsoever. I don't even have influence in my own house, so quite frankly, I'm not qualified either, Andrew. Adam, are you all right to just hang fire for a second? Because I've got to do it. I've got to bring Rich back in, because the other grenade he wants to set off, shall we say. And it's a very valid one, and it's one that I wholeheartedly get behind. I am his vice general, if that's the word here on this crusade, is the other person who we now feel is to blame for some of the problems this season, and who, quite frankly, isn't getting the level of criticism that is justified, is our chairman, Rich. Off you go.
Oh, I'm gonna get ruined by all the
No, you're not. No, you're not. We'll protect you.
Or Brownell, S&C's and Twitter podcast.
I'll send Adam to save you. Don't worry.
Well, I'm not that bothered. Listen, what I would say is, right, Alan Pace has had 3 transfer windows. I would say he's made some good signings, you know, at the same time. And I think it's progress on Garlic. But if we had the January transfer window that we had under Garlic and his board, and we was in the same predicament, after that draw on Saturday on Twitter, Garlic would have been getting absolute pelters. So why is Alan Pace kind of, exempt from this criticism? Is it because he talks in a nice accent? Because he uses sophisticated jargon? Is it because he's put a lick of paint on Turf Moor? What I think with Pace is, my jury's still out on him. It very much is. I think he talks a good game. He seems a good guy, but he's done. Has he done enough to be completely exempt from criticism? And Dyche's fate. Dyche and McNeil are the brunt of it at the moment on Burnley Twitter. You can't get away from it. It is their fault. But not signing a midfielder, in January is absolutely catastrophic. It is absolutely catastrophic. We were looking at Orsic, who I think would have been a good signing, but Orsic is more of a number 10 or a winger. We needed an out-and-out ball-playing central midfielder who can get his foot on the ball and play. Every single person who's a Burnley fan or even a football fan knows what Burnley are short of, and we didn't get one. We only got Vegas because Wood left.
Yeah.
So if Wood didn't go, would we have actually got anyone? And I think, so you're looking at it now and I'm going, it's absolutely criminal that we didn't get that midfielder. I thought at the time, once that January transfer window went, not getting a midfielder or two as centres down, because that's our main area of improvement. I genuinely look at our team. Say if we had, I know it's all if, buts and maybes and all that stuff. If we had Barton and Defoe in that midfield, I genuinely think we'd be mid-table. So we can talk about these issues of strikers, wingers, defenders, Dyche's tactics. Your central midfield is the heartbeat of the team. It's what makes you tick. And we have got championship level central midfielders. I think Cork should be in the team, but the way Twitter was going on Saturday, you thought it was on Andrea Pirlo. The way people were talking about him. And I like Cork. When I backed up Cork in this podcast, it was only before Christmas that people were saying Cork was useless. We had Dale Javi, who came into the team for the Watford game, who I thought was going to be the great saviour. He didn't turn out that way, but it just makes me laugh, and that, for whatever reason, Alan Pace kind of just seems like he's just God's gift. And maybe that's a bit, I don't want to sound patronising. I think it seems our younger fans do really, really like him, and and it's fantastic. Maybe that's a little bit of naivety, where maybe someone may use a bit more older and a little bit more cynical, and there's something that I just fully can't trust it yet.
You're not cynical, Rich. That's not a word I'd use to describe you.
And I just don't see what he's done so far, that people just have this unbelievable, just like faith in him, and for me, them not getting at least a ball-playing midfielder was absolute suicide. And that's got nothing to do with the Orsic deal, because they're completely different roles.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think, Adam, I'm wondering whether part of this is that we were so fed up of Garlic and the old board by the time they left, and there was a lot of bad blood there. He'd had that big nasty spat with Dyche, and that relationship was irreparable to the point where it was coming out in the press that they just weren't on speaking terms. And I do wonder whether Pace has been afforded way too long a honeymoon period by the fans, because quite frankly, we're just relieved to not have Garlic anymore. And also there's a lot of anger as well amongst Burnley fans about the really awful transfer business that Garlic did and the legacy that he's left. And also his role in the leverage buyout of the club as well. So, should we be direct? What's your response to that? Should we be directing and asking more questions of Pace?
Yeah, I think I would hesitantly positive when he did come in. Like you said, we needed to move on from Garlic. I think it was always going to involve debt the next time he did come on to allow us to stretch the purse strings a bit. I think we did that really well in the summer, but in January it is always very difficult to get exactly what you need. I didn't see, apart from Fofana, which just seemed completely far-fetched right at the beginning, I didn't see a realistic target for a midfielder that were going to come in and improve us. It's not a good time to do transfer business. I think it was blatantly obvious to all of us in the summer that we needed a central midfielder. And it's amazing you kind of go around in circles. It's a really good point by Rich saying players get better sometimes when they're not playing. Like you just somehow think that they're going to come in and make a difference because the people in that position are not performing. But yeah, all four of them are a similar level. We've said it all season, but it has to be Cork at the moment, just the way we need to play. But back on Pace, I think PR is brilliant, and it's a lot more than what Burnley fans have seen in the last few years. Like pretty much hidden the shadows. Garlic, you didn't hear from him. Completely the opposite end of the spectrum. It's all positive, all really good news stories with the stadium, with some of the signings, well, the stuff he's promoting in the community and getting out there. I think the proof will be in the pudding. We go down, that could cause real issues for the club, especially if we don't come straight back up. Will he be as positive then? Will he disappear? I think you've got to judge him over the next 2 or 3 years. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we do manage to pull the rabbit out of the hat and stay up. But I really fear for if we do go down and if we do start to struggle, that's when it could really start to unravel. Because how do you, in this day and age, this world that we're in now, it's not a good time to have that debt around you. In any business, in any circumstance. So, especially not a football club where it's not very easy to make money as it is. So
yeah, I do get that, Adam, but equally, debt in football isn't the same risk as it is in football in general businesses. There does seem to be, and I don't profess to know the rules around it, but it does seem to be more manageable and a lot more forgiving in the football world. I don't know how that works, but most clubs operate with some debt and most clubs operate at a loss, and they don't, it's sensational because it's still quite rare for clubs to go out of business. I mean, look at the situation Derby are in at the moment, and they're still, they're still going. That's about as worse as it can get.
There's more and more horror stories appearing, though, isn't there? It's just that worry in the back of your mind that you see these clubs unraveling, and
we're not there yet. Yeah, we're not yet.
No, we're not. Adam, of course, we're not. And that's for another discussion.
We're not there yet, but we can't just ignore it, because if you ignore what's happening now down the line, we've seen what happened. What's going on in the news. If we just ignore threats. Listen, we've got 2 best case scenarios. First one is we stay up this season. It's unlikely, but we've still got a sniff. We've got 2 big games coming up against Everton and Norwich. Second best case, which I think we have got a good chance of, what you were saying earlier, Natalie, before we heard, is that we go down, the championship level is average at best, and we go back up and we rebuild. My concern is, and I think Adam said it there, is long-term, 5-6 years down the line, parachute payments go, we sell our best players. Where do we get money from then? Because Pace is that's my. I'm asking you a question because I don't know enough.
I'm the opposite of you with that, though, Rich. That's the scenario that doesn't worry me about Pace. I'm more worried about short-term flight risk, that he's only interested, and I don't think he is, but my concern's short-term, that suddenly we get relegated to the Championship and he looks to sell it on, or goodness me, like he then sells it back to Garlic. That would just be horrendous. Down the line, I'm not worried, because as a from what I've seen and from what I've read of him and from his background and his business initiatives, he seems to have a lot more commercial savviness that Garlick ever did. Garlick is a successful local businessman, but I never felt that we thrived commercially. Pace is already looking at how we raise money outside of TV revenue, how we generate advertising, how we become a more corporate offering. That's how you get more money outside of the Premier League. So that I'm not worried about.
Who's going to be interested in Burnley? No one. No one's interested in a town in East Lancashire.
They were before the Premier League. You're going to reduce the number of national companies that will be interested in you, but there will always be a level of business that will be interested in sponsoring a football club, even in the Championship, because there's a level of exposure that's good for local market businesses. You're always going to get that. The companies the teams that are in the Championship now, they have sponsorship, they have corporate offerings, they have companies that will sponsor stadiums and have boxes there, so you will have that. Andrew, just a little bit conscious that we went off on one then. I know this is a tricky subject and it's a prickly subject, and we are literally chucking you in at the deep end on your podcast debut, but is there any of that you disagree with, or is there anything that you can add in terms of how far we go as fans in challenging Pace?
No, I think the problem, obviously, we're talking about Pace having a honeymoon period, and I think the problem, the reason he's getting that honeymoon period is he's engaging with fans. He's out there doing what Garlick wasn't doing. He's on social media, he's doing interviews and doing all that. But Rich is 100% right. We have that January transfer window under Garlick. He's getting absolutely slated. It's not good enough. Don't get me wrong, I don't think every single signing he's brought, I think, has been a good signing for the club. But he's massively missed that one hole in the middle, which is central midfield. And I just don't know how that could possibly be missed. We can all see it. How can the management and people at the football club not see that? Going forward, I think you're right with what you're saying. If we do go down, there will always be the sponsorship element. He's a good business. He's a good commercially, knows what he's doing that way. But he's just got to be given time. We need to see what he's going to do come summer transfer window, no matter what division we're in, and then going forward. The honeymoon period probably is going on too long, but I think that's just because we're so fed up with Garlick.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right, so reflecting on what a disappointing loss yesterday. 2-0 away at Brentford. Went down myself from Bath, got the coach in the morning. Got a few bevs in. It seemed like a brilliant day was unfolding. We arrived and there was this cracking little pub to the side of this new ground called the Express Tavern, and it was full of claret before the game. Really, really good atmosphere, and it seemed like everyone was up for what would be another good away day and another good away following. We've been really good recently in the crowd, I think. I think sometimes at home, there's a tendency to get on players' backs, and I think maybe just because you've got so many fans, if there are a portion of that crowd groaning or even booing some decisions or players, it can really whip up a negative atmosphere. So I was looking forward to getting away from home, getting a good 1,500, I think, were there. It was a sold out capacity, and just getting behind the players, and that's exactly what they did from minute one. It was a really good atmosphere, and at half time, I thought we'd been in control. We'd been in control all half, but for me, it was just lacking end product, which is a standard thing that we do these days. But towards the end of the first half, there were a couple of scares because, well, you had the winger. I think is it Canos? Sorry, their winger with the number 7 on his back, who cut in a couple of times on the left wing and whipped in a ball with his right foot. And we really did get away with one, where I think it was Tarks who cleared it off the line. So you're thinking, all right, we've shaded it half, but the best chance has fallen for Brentford, which is a bit of a damning statement, and it really did come back to haunt us in the second half. But you know what? I went into the second half feeling positive and just thought, we'll get something will fall for us, and we'll take our chance, and we'll sit back and think, yeah, that was a good performance, that. And for the majority of the second half, I was happy. I thought we really did show a willingness to go forward and to win the game. you know, sometimes we go away from home and, like it or not, we set up to stay solid and hopefully go up the other end and nab a goal. But I didn't think that was the case on Saturday. I really didn't. I thought we were positive. We went forward. We were trying to get on the front foot. And for the majority of the game, I'll be honest, it felt like we were the home team. Not only on the pitch, but off the pitch, because the Brentford crowd was silent and we were absolutely electric. So I was happy, but at the same time, I thought, ooh, we're not creating much here, are we? And it looked like it was leaking out towards a 0-0 draw, which, look, it's not ideal. We need wins on the board, but I'd have taken it away from Brentford. You know, it means that they stay in the chase. It means that we move out of the relegation zone, whether it be for a day or so, which, you know, it's just good for morale. And we had a couple of chances. I mean, I thought we were a better team when J-Rod came on. I just don't think we managed to get Wout in the game enough. He just didn't get it to his feet, which was unfortunate. But those sort of games happen. But J-Rod, what a cracking shot he had. What a rush of adrenaline that brought to us in the crowd when he whipped it in from outside the box, and it dipped and it looked like an absolutely glorious shot, and it just pinged back off the crossbar. But you're thinking, fair play, Jay, you've come on, and you're not scared of hitting a shot because he's got a good shot on him, hasn't he? And you're thinking, you know, we can go and get this game. Let's get at him. And there was a 10-minute spell in the second half where everything felt like it was going in the right direction. We were playing good football. The crowd was really sensing it. You're thinking, come on, yeah, let's go and get that goal. And it just didn't happen. I mean, Maxwell Cornet, I really do love him, and I think he put in a much improved performance on Saturday. But at the same time, he got one-on-one with the goalkeeper and absolutely fluffed his lines. It should have been a simple either just curl it round him or even take it round the goalkeeper and slot it home. I think if Maxwell scores that where he's fluffed his chance, it's 1-0 Burnley. We're going home happy. We've pretty much controlled the game and got a massive away victory. As it is, our key and star player in Cornet didn't take his chance. Meanwhile, Brentford's star man, Christian Eriksen, set an absolutely delightful ball into the box for Ivan Toney to just turn home. You know, he really couldn't have missed. And I think that's the difference on the day. You know, Eriksen is an absolutely phenomenal midfielder, a midfielder who can just create something out of nothing. And look, you can say all you like, we should be playing Cork, and I agree. But he's not got that quality about him that Eriksen does, unfortunately. It's not that much of a game changer. I think the team with Eriksen or the star player who could produce something when needed to on Saturday was the team that was going to win. And unfortunately, that was Brentford. In January, Brentford brought in a phenomenal midfielder in Christian Eriksen. We didn't. And our midfield's been an issue for years now. We don't create enough from it. And unfortunately, that is what happened at the weekend. Eriksen put an incredible ball in, Tony slots it away. Now, for me, the second goal's irrelevant, isn't it? We were pushing forward for an equaliser. It literally means nothing that we were all torn apart for that second goal, because that's going to happen when you're sending all your men forward. But at the same time, it was a bit of a donkey move by Collins. Why is he just doing that? Why is he taking him down like that and just getting a very stupid red card when, you know, the game's gone? Just don't do it, Nathan. You know, just keep your head up next time and just don't be a clown. Essentially, you know, do as much as you can. But if you can't get to your man, you don't have to go and just take him down and get yourself sent off. So a bit of a silly one there, but what a sickener. It was just a sickener, wasn't it? You know, Brentford fans, they were silent for the entire game. All of a sudden, full time's gone, and they're playing this Hey Jude and having a rave after the game in the home end. God, I mean, it was so sombre in the way end after the game, and it wasn't like one of those games where everyone's miffed and storming out with 5 minutes to go because this isn't good enough. It was more of a, it was more of a funeral. We were just stood there thinking, that's it. That's our Premier League survival chance is gone. That's us, unfortunately, going down. It really did have that air about it. I think I just don't think the fans could believe it. We'd been in control for the majority of the game. Whether we created enough chances or not, well, we hadn't. But we'd been in control. It was going to be a draw. And just one incredible ball in from Eriksen, and all that hard work's gone. and it really was a sad mood going off the game, and I mean that's continued into the weekend. Just a sickener, isn't it? And results haven't gone our way on Sunday at all. You know, with Leeds winning, really could have done without that. But look, all 4 nails aren't in this coffin yet. 2 might be in, maybe even 3 nails are in our coffin. But there is one side of that coffin which is still breakable. I think we can get out of this. It's not just me being stupidly optimistic. Like realistically, we can. Everton are awful. Leeds are rubbish. Okay, they beat Norwich. Well, every team beats Norwich, apart from us, obviously, because we don't like to abide by the principle of beating the teams that you need to. But Leeds are catchable. Everton are catchable. Now, this City game is going to be a write-off, let's be honest. But the final 10 games after that, the mentality of not only the players, but also the fans has to be right, because there's no point us chucking in the towel now and mourning and booing and all that nonsense. Well, if we're going to chuck in the towel, then I don't blame the players if they chuck in the towel. You know, we really need to back them after this 3-week break, which I think is going to do everyone a bit of good. It's not been the best couple of weeks, has it? And there's a lot of negativity, but I think a few weeks off, just enjoy life away from football, because gosh, it really does make us miserable at times, doesn't it? So just enjoy life away from the football, and let's back them after that break. City, let's get a full house in. Who knows what could happen? People say to me, City are unbeatable. Well, tell that to George Boyd, because he didn't think like that, and look where it got us. So get a full house in against City, and let's back the lads going into the final 10 games, because it's not going to help anyone if you turn your back and say, dash out, let's boo. It means nothing. All right, you think you know, you can be on your high horse saying, oh, I'd have picked a better team and all this. But at the end of the day, it means nothing to the players on the pitch. They just need our support, and that's the only way they're going to get out of this, is to have the fans fully behind them, all the team pointing in the right direction, and who knows? Who knows? Sean Dyche has pulled off enough miracles that I believe another one can happen. And it's not like we're cut adrift. Remember a few weeks ago, about a month or 2 ago now, everyone thought we were dead and buried. Everyone, whether it be pundits, fans, everyone thought we were gone. And fast forward, and that's not the case anymore. We're still completely in the mix. And I think that's testament to the good work that Dyche and the team have done in the last 2 months. Okay, it's tailed off recently, but let's back them after the break, and who knows? Anything could happen. I'm going to leave you on that optimistic note, and that there's 10 games left. I mean, 11 if you count City, but who knows? So 11 games left. I really do think three wins and a couple of draws will do us. You know, it's a poor league this year, and we have the ability to stay up. It just needs the right mindset from players, the staff, and the fans. So let's all go forward as one and just see where it takes us, because, hey, think about it. If we stay up, talk about the great escape, eh? It'd be absolutely magical. So let's back the players. Enjoy your break, and I'll see you on the other side, and hopefully we can pick up a few wins, because wouldn't that be absolutely marvellous? Right. Cheers all, and I'll speak to you later.
In terms of just moving on now, because I guess I just want to get a handle on where let's set our stall out now about whether we can consider if there's any hope for survival this season, as Rich just mentioned. Adam, our April fixture list, let's have a look at this first, because obviously we've got a break now of 3 weeks, which is unprecedented, but there we are. And actually, quite frankly, I think us fans are looking forward to a 3-week break after that Brentford game, to be honest. So our April revised fixture list is City at home, vomit. Everton at home, Norwich away, West Ham away, Southampton at home, and Wolves at home. So, realistically, winnable games, points being collected, City aside, that's not bad.
No, and as bad as we've been, and as negative as the feeling's been all season, having won 3 games in 27, we're 1 point away from outside of the relegation zone, which is quite a miracle, to be honest. It is still in our hands. We've still got winnable games. against teams that are also playing very poorly. Then that Everton and Norwich games, absolutely huge. We just need to find that formula to go back to the days where we were picking up 2 points a game against the bottom half teams. How we do that, I don't know, because we do seem to be playing with fear and not taking ownership of those games and taking them by the scruff of the neck. We've got to find a way to do it. And as it really dawns on them, I really hope something does click, because I don't have the expectation anymore. Like Rich said, I keep thinking all of the over and over again this season, I keep thinking we're going to find that formula to go back to what we've always done and find a big moment in those big games and sneak a win and really grind it out. And we've just not been able to do it. And nothing's really going to change now. We've been over and over and over all the players that we've tried in different positions. We've not got many options. I just hope we find something. We've got that run of games. Everton, apart from City, we should be competitive in all the games until the end of the season. Potentially Tottenham away, we've been battered there a few times, but if we're on it, we can be competitive in any game. These last three, without Ben Mee, obviously we're missing a key player and we've not turned up. We've gone on the wrong side of a couple of things at Brentford late on, conceded late goals, but we've got a chance and we've got to take it, because I think we really need to find a way to stay up this season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm beyond worried. Andrew, could you try and quantify this for us and out of those fixtures? So I'll just repeat them for you. City at home, Everton at home, Norwich away, West Ham away, Southampton at home and Wolves at home. How many points do you think we could genuinely get from those?
Well, let's be honest, we're going to get nothing at home to City. Although I could also see us getting a draw there and then losing at home to Everton. That wouldn't surprise me. But you've got that would be the most Burnley thing ever. But we've got to go into that game at home to Everton. Obviously, that's the biggest game of the season as far as I'm concerned. We've got to be getting 3 points there. We've got to be getting 3 points at Norwich. We've got to try and get something at the London Stadium. It's not got there on a great season. It's not going to be easy, but you've got to hope you can get a point there. And then it takes you back into 2 massive home games at home to Southampton and Wolves, which again, you've got to be looking at taking as many points as possible. So whether you're taking 6 points from the first week, the Everton, Norwich, maybe a point to West Ham, I don't think we're going to beat both Southampton and Wolves, but if you can take another 4 there, then that's severely going to push you the tally for the season. However, I'm talking there about winning 3 games when we've only won 3 games out of 27 all season. So it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not. Rich, who's our get out of jail card? Who goes down? Because we're going to have to go above 2 of Watford, Everton, Leeds, and I'm still putting Brentford in there. We've got to come above 2 of those. I
think Brentford are safe now. I think Brentford are safe. Brentford were the one team after that win against Tottenham where I think we really can catch. I think 9 points is a lot of points to gain. I know we got a couple of games in 9, but 9 points is a lot for us to gain on them and them to have a really bad run of form. It was a signal, wasn't it, Leeds getting that winner? It's really hard to answer because by the time we play City, Leeds and Everton are going to have 2 games, or I might be right, before we even play City. I know Everton play tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that's right, but they definitely play 1 or 2 games before us. So I think, you're looking at it and going, well, if Leeds win the next 2, we're 11 points behind them. But if Leeds lose the next 2, we're only 5 points behind them with 4 games in hand. And if Everton maybe only get 1 point from the next 2, we're only 2 behind them with them to play at Turf Moor. So I think I personally think it's really hard to answer that question. I think we're better because at this stage there's teams who are playing games who are playing games like City. For me, it's just damage limitation, and with our goal difference being good.
Yeah.
Listen, I know Mee's injured. I'd be tempted to just somehow try and get 5 across the back.
Yeah.
Like whether I know Collins is out, whether you play long Tarky and I don't know, maybe someone maybe like
put a kid in.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but just
Probably
give him, I
Thomas.
don't know, try, yeah, Thomas or
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe say Pieces is back fit, maybe play him across the back three or Bardsley. Do you know someone like that who can actually just be tough defending, and just play really negative that game and just see how we go.
Don't mind that.
Listen, them Everton and Norwich games are make or break for me. I know Andrew's talked about West Ham, Southampton, and Wolves. For me, if we don't get 4 points minimum from them 2 games, we might, there's no point even turning up for them fixtures, because if we lose to Everton and say only get 1 point at Norwich, it is completely done. To go back to you. I think that game tomorrow that Everton got is absolutely crucial for them. The part of Wigan I'm from is quite close to Liverpool, and it's quite close to Skelmersdale, and I know a lot of Everton fans, and I work with a lot of Everton fans. The feeling inside Goodison Park is really bad at the moment. I think they're doing this scheme, Everton, where it's like the fans are like reading messages and Twitter messages from players, and and the managing staff are. It's almost got a sense of like it's now an Everton for Everton, because if you look at Everton's fixtures after tomorrow, their running is awful.
Terrible.
It is really bad, really bad. I don't know if you've looked at it, Natalie. It's a shocker.
It is. It's awful.
So, listen, if we stay up instead of Everton, it'd be amazing. But I just don't think we'll do it. I'll go back to what I said earlier. We can analyse it until the cows come home. I just don't think we're good enough this season. We're going to need an absolute minimum of 3 wins, 3 or 4 wins, and we've won 3 in 27. I don't think we're consistently a good enough side this season, both attacking, mainly attacking to get enough goals to win games. And our corners have just gone back to absolutely being dog poo again.
Yeah, they really have. So just to go over those fixtures for Everton, because they, out of all of the teams at the bottom, they have unquestionably the worst fixtures. They've got, tomorrow they're playing Newcastle. Then they've got a rearranged fixture, which is yet to be confirmed, against Watford. So they're obviously big 6-pointers there. They've then got to play West Ham, us, Man United, Palace, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester again. Wow, they've only played Leicester once. Not played Leicester yet. Brentford and Arsenal. That's nasty. Brentford isn't great, to be honest, and neither is Leeds. Leeds haven't got great fixtures either. Let me just see if I can get these very quickly, so I'm not delaying. I can't get it quickly enough. But yeah, there is definitely what's the word I'm looking for? An imbalance that may very well work in our favour in terms of fixtures. We have some really good.
Watford have good fixtures.
Yeah,
Watford, yeah.
But Watford are weird. Like, you think they're dead and buried, then they win. I still think we'll come above Watford. I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I mentioned just then, Everton have got so they've got Newcastle and West Ham to play before they play us. That's correct, isn't it, from what you've said?
Yeah.
So them 2 games are massive for us. If Everton go and get, say 4 points, 6 points from them 2 games, but say if they lose both of them or only get 1 point, and then we've got to play them at Turf Moor, and we'll have a game in hand by him at that point. It's all to play for. So, them 2 games are absolutely massive for them.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to leave it there just because I think that's a good place to end it on, in that we know the challenges, we know what's happened this season, but I do like to, as thin as it may be, I would like to leave us on the message that there may very well be some hope. Adam, very quickly, just give us a very quick promo. We've got, as we know, 3-week gap now, so we're going to be doing some FPL specials on the preview show with Dave. You mentioned something about a cup earlier on, which obviously listeners I knew nothing about. So can you just line us up with what we're going to be doing on the preview show to the extent?
Just so as an addition to the usual game week review that Natalie and Dave do, and roundup of the league tables, there's going to be, if you're in the No Nay Never Fantasy Premier League Classic League, then you'll be entering a cup competition from game week 31, where you'll go head to head with another member of the No Nay Never League, and it'll be a straight knockout all the way to the end of the season. And obviously half of the teams will go through every week, and we'll have a final in game week 38 with, I'm sure, what Matt and Natalie will come up with a good prize for whoever does come out victorious at the end of it.
Stickers. No, I need some new merchandise. I've been plugging the None and Never sticker for so long now. So I think listeners, and particularly those who have got their hands on it, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to the end of the season to get your hands on a much coveted sticker. But I think from next season, we're going to be looking at some new merchandise. I don't know what yet. And quite frankly, it's very low down on my to-do list. So yes, do keep an eye on social media, because there's going to be some FPL episodes. I kind of gave that hospital pass to Adam because we haven't written them yet, so I don't know what they will be, but they will be exciting, I am sure. Final word to our very special guest this evening, Andrew. Andrew, I do hope you've enjoyed your time on the podcast. Do you want to just leave our listeners with any little parting shots before we wrap up the episode?
Just obviously massive game coming up against Everton. Let's write the City one off, but massive game against Everton. It is a Wednesday night, but let's just all get down there, all support the team, and from that game on, let's try and get some points and stay in this division.
Look at that. Inspirational words from our guest listeners. Well, thank you, Andrew. It's been a real pleasure having you on the podcast, and we do hope we see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's all we've got time for, listeners. So as ever, my thanks go to everybody who has contributed to make this episode, to our regular panelists, Adam and Rich, for a tough podcast, but one that I think they delivered expertly. And I'm really grateful for their time just to come out and just lay it all out there as it is, as uncomfortable as it is, and it's not pleasant at the moment, so thank you both. As I've just said, obviously our special guest Andrew for joining us as well for his debut. That's been a pleasure. To producer Matt, who has edited this and put it all together for us, and our final thanks to you, the listeners, for downloading and listening to this episode. Your support is very much appreciated, and we would not be here without you. We will not be back now for 3 weeks because of a silly fixture could pile up. Statman Dave is going to be looking at talking to Dave Thomas about his new book, so keep an eye out for that. And as Adam just mentioned, we're going to have some FPL exciting specials. If anybody wants to get in touch with us, you know how. You can tweet us at None and Never. You can leave a comment on our Facebook page, or you can email us at podcast@noneandever.net. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of others indeed, and as we mentioned on the preview show, our hearts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the None and Never podcast. Until next time.